Hi, this is Travis Straw, and you're listening to Frantic Purpose. This podcast is literally just me talking about whatever. So, I'd like to think it's interesting. My wife likes to listen to my voice, which is enough for me. I know there's some other people that listen, but overall, it's mostly for my mental health to chat. I'm a chatter. And I got a lot on my mind most days, most moments, most minutes. Recently it's been AI, artificial intelligence. It's going to be like 3 years old in general. The public version that we all know and use. We had no choice in that. AI was thrust upon us. All of a sudden, I remember I was working at CBS Paramount in San Francisco, and I was the IT manager there. And I remember me and Justin, the guy that worked with me, we would all of a sudden we were seeing like profiles generated by AI. It was just kind of like this fun thing, this fun thing people did. They generated these terrible videos, and now a short time later, it is insane, right? So immediately, of course, capitalism, business, making money was the key. They're like, how are we going to make our return on investment here? So it was immediately thrust into everything, nearly like, oh my God, light speed. Light speed. Did AI become a part of everything on the planet? And from the beginning, I was always saying, I don't think that's a good idea. Maybe we should pump the brakes. I don't know if thrusting a universal technology into everything is a good idea, mostly because I have a cybersecurity background, and making a common denominator between everything is never good. Like it's like a common exploitable factor that we know nothing about. So if we put this thing that we don't understand into everything, it just seems like a bad idea. I think we've only just scraped the surface of this thing, of course, since it's so young, and I don't think we've really come up against. Maybe today we have. Like there was a huge internet outage. They don't know why it happened today. I'm always thinking about the next world war being uh, a disruption of our GPS and internet platforms. Like if China or Russia or anyone really decided to or successfully disrupted our infrastructure, the internet infrastructure and GPS, they would effectively take out a country. We can no longer communicate. I don't think we're prepared for that scenario. We don't practice for it as a community. We'd be really screwed. So I've since, years later, been force fed AI, and I still speak up and be like, yeah, I don't know if it's a good idea. I understand that it's a part of the landscape, and I have nothing to say. I mean, there's nothing I could do. All I could do is keep saying how I feel on this podcast and to other people, and no one will hear it, but that's okay. As long as I can record it and then point back and be like, hey, I called that. There's a few things that I've called that I'm proud of. One of them being that the 2010s would be EDM, electronic dance music, dubstep. That would be like that decade. I think it was like literally the beginning of 2011, where I'm like, yo, this is gonna hit hard for a long time. Another one is, of course, I blanked my mind. What was it? Who cares? AI. Yeah. Now, and people just kind of, what's the point of AI? Right now, it was reported literally this week that over 50% of the internet's content is now AI generated. And they predict that essentially AI will be 100% of the content in a couple years, maybe less, which makes sense to me. You have like Sora 2 that will trick, my parents were tricked a couple iterations back. We didn't need Sora 2 or like Gemini, or well, not Gemini, but VO or whatever, Google VO. We don't need this in our lives. I think it's not really good to have in our lives because humans are like historically responsible with incredible technology. Uh, we've managed to keep it together for most of my life, other than, general terrorism and dread. Compared to our past, we've lived in a relatively unviolent, you know, 38 years. Um, and that's including all of, 9/11 and all this other terrible stuff. Compared to the past, hey, it's not that bad. I know. It's hard to swallow, but it is. We're living in good times. I think that I'll speak to America in general, just the populace. We're very divisive. We're the most violent ever, like we had uh attempted assassinations and general violence seems to be on the uprise, at least from the feeling of my own, sofa, as I take it in from any social media app on my phone, just being like, yeah, it feels a little violent. But, what can one do? I think my biggest worry is the weaponization of AI. I've said this before, and I think it'll like kind of slip in there. Um, Even on TikTok, like every now and then I'll like comment and be involved and kind of like try to have not any like troll conversations, but actually like challenge people to ask like, what are you saying here? And someone posted a video of like a bear breaking into a living room where a person was watching TV. And it's like, to me, it's obviously fake. To my parents and like my grandma, no. To lots of people who aren't technologically savvy, no, it's not. It's it looks great. And I explained, someone was like, I don't understand. This is so easy to catch. I'm more worried about Trump and what he's going to do. And I'm like, well, I mean, you have to consider that most people can't see that this is fake. Like, we were all duped by the late night footage of the rabbits jumping on the trampoline. People thought that was real. Most people did. And most people will continue to see this as real. And if you think that the government isn't going to use this as a tool at some point, if they haven't already, then I don't know. I just trust that they will, you know. And if they use that, and I explained this to that person, I'm like, if they choose to use this technology to push a random narrative to take away freedoms that we have, which I think they'll do that. Well, I mean, some country will do that and probably have already tried, even with lesser versions of AI. I know that, North Korea has historically photoshopped things and failed, but now, with this technology, and of course, more advanced ways to mask that it's AI. The weaponization may not be so much nuclear bombs and weapons as it is misinformation and pointing a whole community in the wrong direction to weaponize them. I feel like we're uniquely going in a direction of weaponizing communities, weaponizing people. And I think that the government, and sorry if this is conspiratorial, it's literally just what I'm seeing. We are so divisive and so hateful toward each other that I remember growing up and the people were really still kind of pointing at the government, like, don't trust the government, like the president, blah, blah, blah. Like, you hate the president, hate the government, the kind of punk rock stuff. And that's faded away. And I was kind of speculating about this with my wife Amanda, and I'm like, I was trying to figure out, when did it stop? Like, when did we stop being punk rock and start like being divisive against each other and not the government? um and who knows who like it will be mad at me for this, but like, once President Obama was elected, no hate against him, he was cool dude, he did as good as any other president. And it wasn't until then that kind of that whole thing kind of stopped, and since then we've never really picked up. unless it was Trump. That was easy. You could go against Trump because, outwardly he is not a polished man, but his policy and what he does, I'm like, hey, he's loud and he's kind of rude and he definitely doesn't sound like a smart guy with whatever clips that are on the internet. I'm not privy to backroom conversations, but he's been praised by many leaders. At this point, he's stopped 2 wars and he's trying to stop another one. I just don't see him through the lens of humanity like everyone does, or like his outward stuff. I see him through the lens of a prior service member. Like I judge a president by the actions, not so much what those actions, like the fleshy body that those actions are carried out by. I see Donald Trump doing general good. I know that there's a lot of hate and it's easy to hate him, but instead we don't hate him as a community. Like we just hate each other. We've hated each other for the last, I don't know, 18 years. We've really hated each other. And my policy has always been, if we hate each other, that's wrong. We should hate the government, because I feel like we're being owned by the government. Everybody is just like a slave to these ideals that don't even matter. Like we should be coming together to solve problems. That's neither here nor there, but I think that's on purpose. It's better that we're at each other's throats. And while we're at each other's throats, sneaky AI advancements can just be like very lightly buried in things and very lightly made the truth. And since we're in an era where people are just believing horse crap of information, even within my house, my Amanda, again, is very susceptible to random things she reads online. Like who seeks out the truth nowadays? I do, but I'm a part of a group of a very small group. Like I live in San Francisco and I like to just talk about things. I don't look, this is going to be a shock to you. I do not vote. And that's mostly because I think it's a flawed tool that needs to be revamped and audited. If there was ever like a vote for like revamping all of the election and voting systems, I would vote then. But I do not believe this government has our best, what's the right word? Intentions. It feels wrong. I feel like it's a farce. I don't know, but I'm not going to be a part of it. And luckily I don't complain about it. Whoever's president, cool. And that's another military thing. We're not when you're in the military, you're not allowed to have any input on anything in regards to the president, because he's the commander in chief, he or she. So yeah, I see that as the weaponization of all that good stuff, and we have yet to really be at the receiving end of that potential terror, which is great. I know recently AI has been used to create this heads-up display for boots on the ground troops that will essentially make it so combat is more efficient, which I think is equal parts good and bad. You could see friendlies easier. It's like a video game, essentially. It's really crazy. That company, I'm waiting to go public because I'll definitely invest in that. But yeah, I don't know. AI, Amanda says this a million times. What is AI even for? Because it seems to be like a tool to avoid work, because, it simplifies data. It summarizes emails. It summarizes meetings. So it's like, that's most of work. So in my opinion, what was it? Sweden or Finland? I think it's Finland. Finland's like the happiest place on earth. It's like quantifiable. And the leader of Finland just is making it so that people will work 4 days for 6 hours. And I'm like, hell yeah. Because if that's what AI is used for, I'm pro that. Because I don't think that, especially with AI, people need to be working as much as they do. Will we get paid less? Who knows? But I think most careers can get around working 8 hours a day, 40 hours a week, and more. So I'm hopeful there. That's good. I think that's good. But you know, it's a weird thing because AI specifically, and Amanda's point is that it's just really just like what generating random crap and putting it online at an advancing rate. There's whole you could theoretically make a lot of money on TikTok just generating content that isn't like it's a little above trash, in my opinion. I like human made homegrown stuff. And I'll and my that way will die with me in my generation, the millennials. We're the last generation to experience a life without this technology and internet and connectivity. I see why disconnecting is so important. And I feel like these next generations, these young people, listen to me, I'm 38 years old, these young people. But these young people have never experienced that and don't know what it means. Their aspirations are to not become, anyone with a a critical trade, like a plumber or electrician or a mechanic or whatever. It's they just want to. A lot of them want to be influencers or OnlyFans models. And why wouldn't you? Like the amount of young people that are claiming they are making tens of thousands of dollars a month on TikTok, on social media. How could you not want to be a part of that? If you're a young lady and you're youthful, of course you're good looking. I feel like young women are good looking no matter what. And you want to sell your sex online and you can make millions. Like, that's a tempting thing, you know. I My son will go through a life that I have no idea what it's going to be like. And my inclination is to shield him and teach him why saying no is so good. And that's definitely a part of my life that I've really integrated. Like, I say no more than I say yes, cuz yes leads to excess, at least in my life. Like, saying no to the easy thing and doing it like the more complicated way, I think it's really rewarding. And we're going to experience a lot of young people who maybe have easy success that will still have pits inside of them that they don't know how to fill because there's no purpose. Everything was easier, the easiest it's ever been in human history. I hope we casually saunter into, a long piece where barely anyone has to work because working sucks. Like, do you understand? You spend more time at work than anything. You will work more than anything else you do in this life. And I support anyone who's trying to get away from that eventuality because it's not worth it. The only reason we work is to make money. And if people are just going in to pretend to work with their AI tools and crap, get out of town. That's even more of a waste of time. My brother is a government employee and he's currently experiencing the government shutdown. And he's not even going to get paid this week. And he's like an IT director. It's a big job. You had to put up with a lot of crap and hopefully you're getting paid a good amount to kind of like make that feel okay. But nothing? Pfft. No. No thanks. So, I hope that AI isn't the dark pit I think it is. It doesn't really change my day. I use ChatGPT when I have some questions, no big deal. But I've been a creator since I was small. I've been making content for my whole life. You could go online and find videos from when I was in my teens, like I was like 14, 15, till now. 14, 15 to my 20s to my 30s to now, literally. And I think that's great. I've always thought of it like it's kind of like my honesty policy. I've always just been out here making stupid, unfiltered content with no general expectation or goal ever. I was also building a career in the background. Like I always said to myself that my career will fund my art and passion and love. And it has. But now here we are, faster than a speeding bullet. We are being shot into an unknown future with like some super old people at the helm, like super old, and with some super young dudes who have too much power and too much money and an inclination to get more of both. If you're not scared by that, good. Don't be scared. I don't want you to be scared. Everything's probably going to be fine. I'd say be prepared. Just have it comfortably in the back of your mind that this is wild. To be on the lookout for literal fake content that is trying to make you feel large feelings, that is telling you to be divisive, that's trying to manipulate you and put you down a road that you weren't otherwise going down. Just keep an eye out. We have no power, you and I. Most of us aren't at the helm. We're just regular people trying to find love or peace, something outside of the nonsense that's online. On our own, we are all on this crazy, super unique journey. The law of large numbers. It's easy to say and look at the statistics and think we're all super similar. But put us all in rooms one on one, we'll find out real quick that we're very, 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 very different. And that's good. We're also broken, which is beautiful. And, it's all good. I love the uniqueness of the human condition. But make sure to, as you adopt AI, because you have no choice, to be cautious, to remember that there will be attacks on people individually with voices that belong to loved ones that are generated, videos that are generated. People, criminals worldwide will tentatively and as quick as they can try to figure out how to use this technology to make money in a criminal way, exploiting ones you love and yourself, probably. I mean, that's already happening. These aren't reasons to be afraid, but they are reasons to learn, to seek the truth, and to be cautious. Because why not? Unless that's just not your thing. And hey, do what you will. Who am I? Just a random voice on the internet. Travis Straw. Creating content for like 30 years or some crap. Thank you for listening. I think that's all I have for today. I'm releasing to future fathers. Being a dad has been a lot of fun, so that's a whole series dedicated to just my thoughts and feelings about how it was during the pregnancy for a dad and what to do to prepare to be a dad. Other than that, I'll see you next time. Thanks for listening. Bye-bye.